Being a nice guy is ruining your life. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what a nice guy even is, what the definition is, where it comes from. I'm going to talk about exactly why. I'm going to break it down for you in about 5 or 6 different ways that being excessively nice or being a people pleaser is completely ruining your life, crippling your potential, making you miserable, etc. And finally, because I like to keep things super practical on this channel and give you something to take away with every single video, I'm going to talk about a framework, just a 3 steps, very, very simple, that you can implement at the end, going forward, to become the confident, unapologetic, self-assured and assertive man that you know you're capable of being. The kind of man that people authentically, genuinely respect because he is in fact authentic. And quickly, mate, if we've not met before, my name is Oliver, and on this channel I help men end the war inside their heads. So let's talk about what a nice guy is. A nice guy is essentially a guy who values the approval and opinions of other people at the detriment to himself. Okay, he's basically the male version of a people pleaser. The term nice guy syndrome was made popular in the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, written by Dr. Robert Glover. I think that was written like 15 years ago now. Very, very popular book, and I highly recommend it. But why exactly does being a nice guy ruin your life? Everyone kind of likes you. You don't have any enemies. No one really hates you. But no one really loves you either. Because a nice guy is basically fully adapting his own behaviours to suit what he thinks other people want him to be, he's not being very, very polarising. You got to understand, when people really love somebody, like deeply, I really fucking love that guy, it's because we really truly agree with them on a deep fundamental level. But because a nice guy is basically everything's on the surface level behaviours, never actually dares to express his own genuine, authentic opinions on anything, he's so afraid of upsetting anybody, but that he never actually expresses himself authentically to the point where people would actually say, I really like that guy. When you're a nice guy, you lack purpose. Because a nice guy, this whole nice guy persona is like a defense mechanism. When you're a nice guy, you basically make your whole life centered around other people, what other people want for you. Which basically means that you don't know what your authentic purpose is because you're completely disconnected from it. Your whole life is about other people's reactions. Your whole life is about approval. Your life is not about your genuine mission in the world. Your life is not about your purpose. It's not even about your happiness. It's about the happiness of everyone else at the expense of you. So how can you possibly know what your purpose is? How can you possibly be a mission-driven man when your mission in life, throughout your whole life really, has been make other people happy no matter what? So you're not going to have any sense of purpose. You'll notice that there are issues in relationships with women and there are issues in sex. Okay, in the bedroom, let's say your whole life script as a nice guy is I need to please other people. If I don't please other people, that I'm a bad person. That's fundamentally the whole life script of a nice guy. That gets extended to the bedroom as well. Now, what happens with that life script is it is anxiety inducing. It keeps anxiety going. It's an anxiety-based condition, right? Now in the bedroom, if you, instead of like enjoying the moment and instead of just being connected to your own body, the whole script of a sexual encounter is I need to make her happy, I need to pleasure her, I need to basically prioritize her pleasure. Now this kind of is a self-fulfilling, self-sabotaging prophecy, because if you're like, the more you obsess over her pleasure, the more anxious you are. Her pleasure it's not actually about her pleasure, it's about you feeling good about yourself, right? That drives anxiety up. So a lot of men that I've worked with this problem have told me that they struggle with this. They struggle with either erectile dysfunction or they struggle with sexual stamina because fundamentally they're too stuck in their heads, they're too anxious in their body to actually enjoy the situation. As a nice guy, you lack assertiveness and any sense of boundaries. People don't fundamentally respect you. A lot of men with nice guy syndrome feel like they're walked all over by people, fundamentally, which is another problem because nice guys have real issues with emotional repression and suppression. A lot of nice guys don't really feel their emotions. They're not really in contact with them very much because the whole persona of being a nice guy requires them to basically deny so much of their emotional spectrum in order to maintain the facade, the persona, that they end up having to repress anger. They end up having to repress, well, it's mostly anger to be honest, sadness, anything that doesn't fit with the persona, they have to repress it. Well, what happens there? A lot of the time, a nice guy has rage attacks. He suddenly has bursts of anger. He suddenly has emotional takeovers that completely derail him for some reason. Sometimes a nice guy struggles with exhaustion, existential exhaustion, struggles with procrastination and motivation. Why? Because to maintain the persona, mate, is a tiresome job. It's a full-time job to maintain this nice guy image. It's exhausting completely, fundamentally and physiologically. And finally, man, a lot of nice guys struggle with attraction issues. The kind of things of being self-assertive, confident, expressive, comfortable in your own skin, things that women generally find attractive. What women receive from a nice guy is a guy who is emotionally volatile, a guy who is emotionally dependent, he's needy, he's got low self-worth, and he completely lacks any sense of confidence, and is basically just this kind of like, she receives him as kind of a low status people pleaser. Instead of being a leader that she can respect and admire, he's just kind of this bottom feeder. I don't want to be mean, but that's how a lot of women perceive these guys. Like a bottom feeder who's just trying to like cling to the approval because he doesn't approve of himself deep down. Why do we do this? Nice guy syndrome is a defense mechanism against shame. Fundamentally feeling that the core of who you are is broken, wrong, or defective in some way. But in the previous video, I talked about how you can heal the shame and the benefits of improving your relationship with anxiety to the point where you can self-soothe. Here I'm going to talk about how you can actually become the unapologetic, boundaried, assertive man that people actually respect, so you can respect yourself. Well, there's a 3-step process to this. The first step fundamentally is very important, and it comes from the inside. Change your relationship with your own needs and desires. Nice guys generally don't have a connection to their own needs and desires because of the life script of pleasing everyone else. They don't consider their needs and desires important. Man, you've got to change this. Your needs and desires are important. You're not selfish for prioritizing yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. The better you become, the more healthy, energetic, and happy you become, the more you've got to give to other people. I want you to basically change your relationship with selfishness. You are not selfish. Having a healthy self-interest and being selfish are not the same thing. So the second thing you need to do, man, is you need to do what I call a boundary audit. I get my people pleaser kind of clients to do this. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the different types of boundaries, and you are going to keep kind of like an evolving document of what you're okay with, what your boundaries are in these given areas. And just for example, let me just mention what these actual different boundaries are. For example, I'm using my phone, we have physical boundaries, which are about space and touch, people getting close to you or not. Emotional boundaries, which is about your feelings and your emotional capacity. For example, if someone's trying to talk to you about something very intense and you don't have the emotional capacity to, a nice guy will generally just be like, yeah, sure, I'll be an emotional punching bag, no problem. But it's about saying, no, I'm not actually ready to talk about that. Mental, like your thoughts and beliefs and your opinions, for example. It's about respecting that you've got your own opinions, other people have theirs, etc. Your time boundaries, which is about managing your personal work and your own personal time, for example. A lot of nice guys, their whole schedule is basically up for grabs for everybody else. Material boundaries, people borrowing things from you or borrowing money. A lot of nice guys I've worked with, they lend money to people and the person just never gave it back because they didn't respect them. Sexual boundaries, it's about like what you're okay with in the bedroom, what you're not okay with, what you desire in the bedroom, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, etc. And lastly, your boundaries in relationships. It's what you expect from the person's behavior in a relationship, what you're okay tolerating, what you're not okay tolerating, that kind of stuff. So once you've done a boundary audit, once you've changed your relationship with your own needs and desires, developed a healthy self-interest, the second step is doing the boundary audit. Now that you're aware of your boundaries, what's the third step? The third step is communicating them. So there's a framework that I like to use with clients called the DESK framework. And basically the DESK framework is where let's say, for example, someone has violated a boundary of yours. Well, here's where you've got to assertively communicate that without being aggressive. Passive is over there, aggressive is over here, assertive is right in the middle. It's the healthy balance we're trying to reach. So the first thing is describe the situation. So for example, when we made plans to meet at 6 p.m., you showed up at 6:30 p.m. Right, you're describing the actual facts of the situation. E stands for express your feelings. So in this example, you'd say, I felt frustrated and disrespected, mate, because I value punctuality and I adjusted my schedule for 6 p.m. And S would be specify your needs and your wants, okay? So, for example, you would say, I would appreciate it if in future you could let me know if you're going to be late so I can adjust my plans, right? And finally, we've got C, which is the consequences or a compromise, right? So, for example, it would be, that way we can both avoid unnecessary frustration and enjoy our time together more. Does that sound fair? So that was just the DESK framework, DESC. D is describe the situation. E is express your feelings. S is specify your needs and wants. And C is consequences or compromise. So that is how you express your authentic desires and your boundaries, and you assert yourself. But I've created a document that will help you do all of that. So click the link in the description, in the pinned comment down below to download that. Implement this strategy, implement this, and you can be the assertive, confident man that people respect. And I'll see you, mate, in the next video. Peace.